Oh, hello. Shh. I've got a secret for you. I'm at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, and there's a secret spot that nobody knows about. That's the observation deck, and it's located just up those stairs right behind me. I'd like to bring you along with me. Just behind those departure boards is the staircase. It's located at the D gate area. Alright, come along with me as I go up the stairs to the observation deck. There's nobody else here, and there's actually no sign at all that indicates that's an observation deck. But I've been here many, many times, so I know what to expect at the top. When most people travel by air, they neglect to acknowledge the means of getting to their final destination. But at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport's Terminal 1, there's a special place for the traveler to pause and take it all in and experience the joy of aviation from the ground. If you watch my channel, you know I tend to spend a lot of time in the Delta Sky Clubs, but so many of them have no views or restricted views of airport operations, so I actually prefer it up here when I'm at MSP. There's no free food or any other amenities, but what's priceless is the view. This is a refuge from the rest of the airport. Overlooking the airport's runway 12 left 30 right, the view is commanding and offers a great look at how airport operations work. The airport pumps in light classical music to add to the relaxing atmosphere, but I recommend you listen to ATC via the live ATC app on your phone to hear behind-the-scenes conversations between pilots and the air traffic controllers up in the air traffic control tower. Many of the videos on my channel feature real-time ATC as I take you with me from gate to gate. It's an aspect of aviation that I find most interesting, and yet most travelers are unaware of how aircraft are separated. But at least from up here, even without ATC, you can visually see how aircraft are separated. You can observe how aircraft need to have sufficient space between them, whether it's two planes departing one behind the other, two arrivals landing one behind the other, or a departure being fit in between two arriving flights. It's a whole different world up here, a drastic contrast from the terminal below. While the terminal area offers fantastic windows along all sides, this is one level up and provides a wider perspective. And the lack of crowds really gives you an opportunity to focus outward. Down below in the terminal area, one can easily be distracted by stores, restaurants, and crowds of people. But here it's the runways, taxiways, and airplanes that are the center of attention. The observation room itself is quite simple and is in the shape of a box with windows on all sides. Note that it's not wheelchair accessible. Like an airport's control tower cab, stairs lead up to the top level. I love feeling like I'm in an air traffic control facility. All we need up here are some radars and radios, and we'd be in control of the runways. There's some napping mats on the ground in case anyone wants to catch some Z's up here, but I cannot imagine why anyone would want to spend time up here with their eyes shut. But I do admit it's a much more peaceful place than the Sky Club. One very unique thing for such a large airport is the fact that this airport is a joint civil-military airport. While there are a plethora of airline flights here, mostly in Delta Airlines colors, there are military traffic aircraft that can be seen from up here, and the observation tower offers a great view of the military ramp on the other side of the runway. This airport is over 100 years old. It was originally known as Speedway Field, then the airport changed its name to World Chamberlain Field, and today it's known as the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, or simply MSP. It's a hub for Delta Airlines and Sun Country Airlines, but on this side of the airport we see mostly Delta airplanes. Before this was a Delta hub, it was a Northwest hub. Many of the white Delta airplanes were painted in the red and gray Northwest colors previously. Northwest ceased operations in 2010 and merged into Delta. Flights to and from this airport fly all over the USA and all over the world, so there's a very good mix of small to medium to large aircraft that you can see from up here. Smaller aircraft fly to destinations in the Midwest and include aircraft as small as the CRJ-200, while larger aircraft fly to destinations as far away as Seoul, Korea on an Airbus A350. Many people think this airport isn't too diverse with so many Delta aircraft, but there's a lot that the airport has to offer. One of the great benefits of this observation deck being placed where it is the fact that you get some close-in and great views of the C, D, and E concourses at MSP Airport. From up here, it becomes evident how gate operations work. You can see how aircraft are pushed back, how the jet bridge is placed against an aircraft for loading and unloading passengers, and you can see all of the vehicles that service the aircraft. The ramp, as it's known, can be a very, very busy place with lots of room for error. The people and vehicles must ensure that they remain clear of aircraft both parked at the gate as well as aircraft that are moving on the ramp. The ramp only extends out to a small area behind the terminal, and outside of that area is a taxiway that's parallel to the gates in the runway. The taxiway is used to bring aircraft to and from the runways. Not all aircraft on this side of the airport use the runway that we see here. Minneapolis Airport has a total of 4 runways, and any of them can be used for operations for all aircraft. The runway that we have a view up of here, runway 12 left 30 right, is actually parallel to another runway that's on the other side of this terminal, Terminal 1. There's a rarely used runway that cuts across both of the parallel runways, and on the western side of the airport there's another runway that heads in a north-south direction. There's also another terminal here in MSP, Terminal 2, which is the base for Sun Country Airlines. Like most of the runways, it's not visible from up here. If you're looking for action on the other parallel runway, runway 12 right, 30 left, it's best to walk over to the G and F concourses. There are plenty of windows there, but your viewpoints will be from gate to gate, as it's not up on the roof like this observation deck. Speaking of observation decks, we are not the only structure with windows on the top of the terminal. There are various airline operation towers located high up like this, so controllers who are responsible for the ramp can manage traffic into and out of the gates by looking out the window. They also use cameras at the gates, especially for any gates that might have an obstructed view for their tower. Airport operations even has their own tower on a rooftop. Although they are not responsible for real-time control of the ramp or ground traffic, they need to be able to see what's going on and maintain control over maintenance of the facilities of the airport. But for us up here, we are the most stressless and relaxed people at rooftop level. All we have to do is enjoy the view. And by us, I mean you, the viewer, and me. I filmed this video over the course of a year, and on my various trips to Minneapolis Airport, around 95% of the time I was up here, I was completely alone. That's why I call this a secret spot. People just don't know what this airport has to offer up here. It's very rare for an airport to have an observation deck designed for the sole purposes of looking out the window, so I'm grateful for the existence of this. Yes, most airports have windows at the gates, but in order to see how everything comes together, you need to be higher up. Now, the FAA's air traffic control tower is even higher up than this, and it offers a view of all the runways. It's located in a separate structure across from runway 422. It's important that controllers there have the most commanding views of an airport because they're responsible for aircraft moving at high speeds, both on the ground as well as in the air in the vicinity of the airport. Unlike the airline employees in the airline ramp towers and the airport employees in the airport operations tower, the FAA's air traffic controllers are federal employees and provide air and ground traffic separation services following procedures that are standard for all airports in the USA. Of course, there are also very strict rules for ramp operations too, and being this close allows you to see all of the rules being adhered to. Alright, it's now time for a play-by-play. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm thinking as I take in the marvelous sights up here. These videos were taken over the course of a year during various weather conditions. This United Embraer just left the E-gates but needs to take off on the other side of the airport, so it's taxiing away from where I am now, but I still get some Embraer action as this American lands in front of me on runway 30 right. As that Embraer touched down, the tower assigned another Embraer onto the runway, and as soon as the arrival was clear of the runway, the departure was clear for takeoff. I love seeing this up close, like the nose of this Delta CRJ parked at a D gate below. Southwest Airlines, like Sun Country, operates out of the other terminal, but has been assigned runway 30 right for departure, so the pilot has been asked to taxi by our observation deck. It's nice to be able to see an airline that you won't see at any gate here in Terminal 1. It's always nice to look back at the control tower to see where the commands are coming from. If you look further back, you can see some action on the other side of the airport, like this Air France heavy jet that just got in from Paris and is taxiing to the G gates, also on the other side of the airport. Back to this side, runway 30 right is now clear for the arrival of a United A320, which is going to park right near the observation deck, so I'll be able to see its entire taxi in from clearing the runway to the gate. Minimal time is spent on the ground control frequency, and this is very efficient from a fuel savings perspective. And from a camera perspective, this is the corner from which I am able to film that United aircraft. But this is a real Delta airport, and that's evident by looking down at the C concourse, filled with Delta aircraft.
The closest gate to us is C1, and that goes down to C29, followed by A and B gates that are all Delta. Delta has a great mix of airplanes here, like the CRJ-200 for short hops and the 737-900, seen here pulling out of a D gate below. The D gates, just below us, consist of 6 gates in a box, roughly the same shape as this observation deck. That 737-900 is now ready for taxi after the tug is removed, as a CRJ-900 taxis behind it on the taxiway just outside of the ramp. And there goes another CRJ-200 on runway 30 right. Ground control has assigned runway 30 right to the 737-900, and it's starting its taxi here. Here it is under tower control on the runway. From up here, you get a great view of the hold bars and lights indicating to pilots that the runway is up ahead. It's forbidden to enter the runway without clearance from the control tower. This CRJ-200 passes by in the parallel taxiway without entering the runway, but on the other side of the runway is the Air National Guard, so this military aircraft has received clearance to cross the runway to get to the taxiway on this side, which leads to the departure runway. There's a good mix of traffic here. I caught this nice view of an Icelandair 737 MAX coming in from Reykjavik on runway 30 right. Despite there being many general aviation airports in this metropolitan area, MSP still sees its fair share of corporate jets, like this gorgeous G6 that landed on runway 30 right. He'll be taxiing to the other side of the airport, so I'm glad it landed on this runway. The same applies to this JetBlue Embraer 190, which will go to the other terminal. This means having to cross a runway to get there. I have to tell you that I'm really enjoying it up here, and you should enjoy it too. And I'm sure that whoever is in this Porsche that Delta provides for gate transfers for elite customers is enjoying it too. Here's another Porsche ride that I caught from up here on a different day. Have any of you been one of the lucky Delta customers that's been offered a ride in one of the Delta hubs? I haven't had that chance yet. There are a lot of Delta flights here, and from up here I'm able to see one of their new ones, but less common, Airbus A220s. I had the chance to fly in a few, and I especially love the lavatory with the window in it. By the way, if you're wondering about the low visibility, the current footage was taken during a period when there were forest fires in the west. Smoke was blowing across the USA from the west to the east, and it was really hard to see aircraft that were far away, like this Delta A330 that just arrived on the parallel runway from Amsterdam. Most of the heavy jets were on the other runway, closer to the international gates, but I was happy to see this bright yellow Spirit A320neo pull out of the E gates. And what was interesting was that it was replaced right away by another Spirit aircraft that needed the same gate. But this time it was a Spirit Airbus that was not yet painted in the latest Spirit livery. Then, a United A320 pulled in. It was nice observing the ground crew and how their time was allocated to different aircraft, causing minimal ramp delays. Oh, and there goes a Sun Country airplane, finally, but it's too late. They do have a base here. This one is interesting, a super tug tugging a Delta A321. With so many Delta airplanes here, sometimes they need to be repositioned. And when they push back, it's necessary to have ground crew near the aircraft to visually ensure that the aircraft and its wings are clear of obstructions. These are not air traffic controllers, as so many people confuse them to be. There's another Sun Country 737. Again, I'm too late. But I can clearly see the accordion canopy moving on to this Delta jet at gate C1. This will protect the passengers from the elements as they deplane from their flight, but my attention is quickly turned to the movement area where I saw a private aircraft move, as well as this beautiful UPS 757, a cargo aircraft. The 757 can produce wake turbulence, so it's important that the controller separates smaller aircraft behind it. Okay, I think we need to move on to a clearer day. From up here, you get a great view of the skyscrapers of downtown Minneapolis. That just wasn't possible on those smoky days. Sunlight is illuminating this semi-private place as a Delta 737-900 passes by. And here we see an aircraft holding short of the runway as an arrival prepares to land. I've never really seen a long line of departures on a good day from up here. Once the arrival clears the runway, the next departure in line takes off. It's like clockwork. And there's so much to see. Even when I took a step back, I was drawn to the window at this military aircraft taking off. And after looking up, my eyes were drawn back to the ramp to see this Delta A321 pull into the first C gate. It sure gets busy down on the ramp. Notice how as this United Embraer pulls into the gate, the vehicles on the ground are following pathways that are painted on the ground. This keeps them clear of the expensive aircraft. Oh, here's a rare one. A Denver Air Dornier 328 as it taxis out to runway 30 right. And now it's airborne as it makes its way skyward. So far, I've shown you what it looks like from up here during daylight conditions, but aircraft, of course, need to operate into the late hours of the evening, and sometimes the weather can be less than ideal. This tower is open as long as the terminal is open, and no matter what the weather, you'll still get a view. Welcome to the observation tower during the evening hours, and again, I'm the only person up here, so I've got it all to myself. It was especially cozy here this evening as I awaited my flight. Why? Well, the airport was experiencing irregular operations, so I walked over to the window to observe. You see, it was a snowy night at the airport, and the ground was covered with snow. Fortunately, snow had been removed from the aircraft to make them airworthy, but with markers on the ground covered by snow, it wasn't easy for the pilots to follow the prescribed path, but ground crews worked hard to remove as much snow as possible. This line of trucks with snow removal equipment is set up to cover the widest areas on the surface of the airport to clear paths quickly. It's fascinating to watch. The snow needs to be removed from as many areas as possible. It's easy to see the ramp snow removal operation because floodlights illuminate the ramp areas at night, but the runways need to be plowed too, and that means that each runway needs to be temporarily closed while the snow is being removed. It's hard to film the runways at night because they're not well lit like the areas near the terminal building. If you can get up here during a winter weather event, do it. Even with no action on the runways, there's a lot of close-in, specialized winter weather action to be seen from this amazing vantage point. Just don't come up during a thunderstorm. Many times during thunderstorms, the airport halts all activity, and that even means no movement on the ramp, although you might find it interesting or even eerie to see a totally still airport. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. This has got to be the best spot in all of Terminal 1 at MSP. This is a place that I never miss, whether I'm originating my trip in Minneapolis or just connecting here. This spot really lets you in on all the behind-the-scenes action from a commanding point of view. Okay, so that's it for now. If you like this video, and I hope you do, please consider hitting the subscribe button so that you're alerted as the next time I post another video. My videos provide a very unique take on aviation. Don't forget to check out the many flights that I take you on as I narrate every step of the way right here on this channel. Thanks everybody, and happy flying!